Good evening. Sorry, that's really loud. The March 18th, 2026 meeting of the San Mateo County Board of Education will come to order. As is our practice, this meeting will be recorded. The board provides access for members of the public and welcomes community members joining in person and remotely. The board is following the requirements of Senate Bill SB 707, which enables remote participation by board members only under specific circumstances. We use simultaneous interpretation in Spanish for those attending virtually through the end of public comment. Translation will continue further into the meeting if people are utilizing the channel. Thank you to our interpreters, Ana Cruz and Kimberly Larios, for joining us remotely. For meeting attendees wishing to access the Spanish translation channel on Zoom, please click on the interpretation button on the menu bar. And we ask speakers to be mindful of the Spanish interpretation and speak slowly and clearly. Item 1B is the approval of the agenda. I note that we are pulling item 5C from tonight's agenda. Within the past 24 hours, we were made aware of serious and credible allegations of sexual misconduct involving the individual we had planned to recognize. So in light of what has been shared, we believe it is appropriate to remove this item and acknowledge the pain expressed by those affected. Our hearts go out to everyone who has been impacted by this situation. So is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There is a motion to approve the amended agenda made by trustee Gerard and a second by trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0 and the amended agenda for tonight's meeting has been approved. Item 2 is public comment. Guidelines for public comment are available on the SMCOE website and in board docs and on the table outside the boardroom in both English and in Spanish. For speakers who require Spanish interpretation, our interpreters, Ms. Cruz and Ms. Larios, will interpret following each speaker's comments. At this time, members of the public may provide comment for topics not included on the approved agenda. The County Board of Education does not act upon any matter that has not been agendized except under limited circumstances as permitted by law. It is the policy of the County Board to refer matters raised in this forum to the superintendent for investigation and/or action where appropriate. Superintendent Chavez, do we have any comments submitted prior to the meeting for topics not on the approved agenda?
None were submitted.
Thank you. Speakers are also invited to make live comment and will have 3 minutes to speak. Please keep within the time limits. To make a comment over Zoom, members of the public may use the raise hand feature. Instructions for using this feature are provided as an attachment in the board packet. Once your hand is raised, please wait to be acknowledged by Superintendent Chavez. Superintendent Chavez, are there any members of the public attending remotely who wish to make a comment at this time for topics not on the approved agenda?
I don't see any raised hands.
Thank you. Members of the public may also provide live comment in person. Are there any submitted cards for topics not on the approved agenda?
No submitted cards.
Thank you. Public comment addressing a specific agenda item will be heard after the board's discussion on the item. If members of the public wish to speak to a specific agenda item, please use the raise hand feature when the item is announced, or if in person, submit a card in advance for the item. Cards can be found on the table outside the boardroom and given to a staff member when completed. Item 3A is the March 2026 Employee of the Month, the Curricular and Improvement Support Committee, CISC, Symposium Administrative Support Team, Sylvia Pay, Personnel Commission Analyst, Personnel Commission Services, Office of the Superintendent, and Rosemary Posobon, Administrative Assistant, Research and Systems Planning, Educational Services Division. Will you both join me in the middle of the room, please? Yay, great turnout. You guys want to come here? So in January of 2025, the Curricular and Improvement Support Committee invited the San Mateo County Office of Education to chair the 2026 CISC Leadership Symposium. This annual conference attracts more than 1,000 educational leaders from across the state to learn from experts and practitioners about optimal leadership ideas and strategies to support and enhance student learning and school improvement. It is a $1 million massive project with visibility across the state, and without a doubt, the county office would have not succeeded in presenting such a successful conference this year without the amazing work of Sylvia Pay and Rosemary Posbon. So this conference was held across 3 different venues with 2 different AV vendors, 2 different equipment rental companies, 6 different keynote speaker agents, and 28 sponsors, each with their own contracts, needs, concerns, and questions. So all of this was seamlessly handled by Sylvia and Rosemarie. In the year leading up to the conference, they responded to countless email questions every day with exceptional timeliness, professionalism, and accuracy. At the conference, there were 43 county office employees on site hosting breakout rooms, supporting registration and answering questions, and their room reservations and travel schedules were arranged with expertise and care by both Sylvia and Rosemarie. It is difficult to fully convey the year's worth of nonstop work and dedication, requiring a very high degree of accuracy and filled with hard deadlines that Sylvia and Rosemarie executed with skill and grace. So one leader supporting the conference commented that Rosemarie's strong organizational skills, highly collaborative nature, and patient manner helped team members know where preparations stood and helped keep projects on track. And that Sylvia's attention to detail, diligence, and around-the-clock friendly reminders ensured that everyone did what they needed to do to be done and nothing fell through the cracks. So, and others shared that they were able to pass along a huge variety of administrative tasks to Rosemarie and Sylvia and did not have to think of the tasks again because they knew that it would be handled and be completed. We are proud of our county office staff and are pleased to recognize Sylvia and Rosemarie for their outstanding work. They represented the county office on a statewide stage with extraordinary professionalism, courtesy, and skill, and are incredible asset to our organization. Congratulations to both of you for being named Employees of the Month for March of 2026. Yeah. So does someone want to speak first?
Thank you to Board President Torres, members of the board, and Superintendent Chavez for this award. Thank you to everyone who nominated us for this recognition and to everyone who has been so supportive. There were so many moving parts, and it was wonderful to see such a collaborative effort come together to make this conference a success. I planned many weddings for hotels in my past experiences, and helping plan this educational conference was definitely with more conversations on lanyards and t-shirt, looking up what synapse means again. Let's just create one more spreadsheet. There is no such thing as too many microphones. Yes, a round table can be square. And of course, deciding the most important detail of all, where's the coffee? Thank you for the opportunity to be part of the team and to help with hosting such an inspiring educational event, and I look forward to more collaborations with everyone in the future.
Good evening, Board President Torres, members of the board, and Superintendent Chavez. I'm truly honored to receive this recognition. And Sylvia, she said it so well, but I have a little bit of something I want to say. I want to thank my supervisor, Executive Director Jerry Parolo, for recognizing my work and for the trust and support he continues to show me. I'm also grateful to the SMCOE leadership for the opportunity to be part of this organizing committee. It was a lot of work, but one I genuinely enjoyed, and I enjoyed being part of the team. I'm especially happy that Sylvia is being recognized as well. She is amazing, always positive, and throughout this project, she truly felt like my backup, and I sometimes said my other brain. And fun fact that she's really fast as texting. I don't know if you ever seen her, but yeah, yes. Thank you again. It truly means a lot to know that my hard work is being appreciated. So thank you.
That was fun. That was also my first time that there being two. So that was exciting. Moving on to item 4A, is there a motion to approve the minutes of the March 4th, 2026 regular board meeting as presented? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve the minutes of the March 4th, 2026 regular board meeting made by trustee O'Neill and a second by trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0, and the minutes of the March 4th, 2026 regular board meeting have been approved. Item 5 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is not debatable and requires a unanimous vote for passage. An item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular order of business for separate discussion and action if any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. There is a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended, made by trustee O'Neill and a second by trustee Gerard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0, and the consent agenda as amended has been approved. For
Excuse me,
item, yes.
President, I wonder if somebody could do something about the audio. We're starting to get feedback and it's just too loud and we're starting to get feedback. Maybe, Leo,
Yes, and I will try to,
feeding back. It could be the podium. I don't know.
oh, might be the mic. I'm not sure if I turned it off all the way. For item 6A, Kevin Baltima, Deputy Superintendent, Business Services Division, and Manette Mineo, Executive Director, Internal Business Services. Business Services Division will present the 2025 through 2026 second interim financial report. Deputy Superintendent Baltima and Executive Director Mineo.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Board President Torres, members of the board, and Superintendent Chavez. Kevin and I are here tonight to present the 2025-26 second interim financial report. Okay. So what has changed since we were last here in December? So in the presentation, we will see that the local control funding amounts has been updated. The corresponding salaries and benefits has also been updated with position control changes. There's also a slight increase in property tax estimates, and of course, with the corresponding increase in the other outgo. There's also adjustments in STRS related to the audit and changes to Fund 40 that's related to the YMCA Phase 2 capital improvement projects. So these are just the key items of importance. This is our last year of ERP implementation. And just to note, we have also implemented the classification and compensation study for CSEA 158, CSEA 887, 789, and confidential group. The budget includes the compensation increase for our SMCA group, which is our teachers, and there is no settlement yet for classified in the budget for classified, confidential, and management groups. Although we are presenting also tonight the 3.5 salary increase that's been agreed between the confidential and management group that's retroactive July 1st, 2025. You'll notice that in the Gateway program, there's an increase in contribution from 145,000 at first interim to 767,000 at second interim. This is still with fewer kids served, but maintaining the cost that we have committed with our school districts. In Fund 40, there's a pass-through revenue that's estimated at 6 million, interest revenue estimated at 2.295, so combined close to 8.3 million in revenues. estimated for Fund 40. There is also a cost of capital improvements as it relates to the Phase 2 of the YMCA facilities. And there's remaining the 1.5 million, which is consistent with prior years for facility master plan, ITS remodel projects, school site card locks, and security cameras in projects. All right, so this is what we have presented before. This is the income statement format of our budget. So this is the combined unrestricted, restricted numbers. So you can see in the unrestricted column, our total revenue is about 84 million, and about 90% of that is coming from our LCFF. In our restricted budget, our total revenue is 33.2 million, and about 60% of that is coming from our local revenues. Total combined revenues is 117.1 million. Correspondingly, the expenditures are totaling 119 million combined with unrestricted and restricted. And bottom line shows the combined net change in fund balance of $367,000. So the next slide is just a modified presentation of the income statement, just showing you how our LCFF is offset by that other outgo. In unrestricted, that's represented by our excess property taxes that we will have to return to the state. In the unrestricted side, in the restricted side, that's the 1.7 million that we distribute to our school districts as part of the SELPA allocation plan. So this is just another way of looking at the income statement, but still gives you that net change in fund balance of 367,000. Okay, so this is just a pie graph presentation of our total revenue. As you can see, this is now has the percent. Sorry. So adding in the total revenue, I think in the slides before, we showed a total revenue of 117 million, but adding the transfer in, the total resources comes to about 120 million. 455,233, and this is just a representation of what each of those sources by object codes are represented in percentages. So as you can see, the biggest one is our LCFF sources, about 62.8%, state revenues at 7.86%, and local revenues at about 25.76%. So correspondingly, this is the same graph, but now it's the expenses of combined unrestricted and restricted revenues. So also represented in percent. As you can see, the other outgo is very obvious. It's about 34.36%, certificated, classified, and management salaries. Combined, there's about 35%, and then there's the corresponding benefits for about 13.55%. Total expenditures to about $120,087,944. So this is just another representation of the expenses now being shown by function. So function is the fifth component of the SACS accounting code structure, and it identifies the activities that's related to the services and support that we do for those expenses. So those categories are instruction, instruction-related services, pupil services, community services, general administration, plant services, and other outgoes. So it still totals to the same expenditure amount of 120 million. And the general administration services breakdown is given below. So that's composed of board and this is the same list of services and contracts, and this is found under the services category of our overall budget. And just the important kind of items to note, and these are the same items that you've seen before. For example, in outdoor education, you see a 1.3 million services expenditure in there, and that's related to the YMCA contract. The ERP financial system, that's the frontline ERP system that we have now implemented. Transportation, that's the first student contract. And ERP implementation, because as mentioned earlier, this is our final year of ERP implementation. On the restricted side, we can note special education. There is also a big services amount under San Mateo County Health Commission. This is for student behavioral incentive programs, and also a corresponding service agreement. This is the offset of transportation cost on the unrestricted side. Sorry, throwing you all those numbers, but Kevin will continue with the presentation and conclude it. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to talk about what changed in the budget from first interim to second interim budget. Right away, Minette mentioned that we did see increased property taxes, but with that arrow, we're also seeing the amount that we have to send back to the state increase as well. Small changes in state revenue. Local revenue increase related to our outdoor education. We're receiving more money because we have more students. And then ultimately the Canyon Oaks program has bill back has increased as well. On the certificated classified certificated salaries, we actually saw an increase of $31,000. We added an additional psychologist with some other reductions in other programs. Typically, we see salaries reduce as the year goes on because we haven't filled positions that we had planned for at the beginning of the school year. And we see that in the classified section and in our employee benefits. Small variances, books and supplies at almost $46,000. Our services did go up $271,000 related to a STRS audit, about $93,500 included in the budget, a mental health clinician increase of $99,000. And I had written contract for subs, but that is incorrect. So I struck that out. But we do see an increase in a reallocation of our executive director salary that went from special education into the community schools. Very small variance in capital outlay. Other outgo, we already talked about that with the increased property taxes. Indirect costs went down slightly because we're seeing less expenditures overall in the restricted side of the budget. No change in transfers in, transfers out. We are seeing a higher contribution into Fund 12 for our early childhood program. And then our contributions increased regarding Hillcrest, and it was already mentioned by Minette to our Gateway program. So I know this is hard to read, and I apologize for that. Our attempt here is try to use reports out of our new financial system. So that is our attempt here. I think you can read it better in the information you were provided. But you see that overall the budget for Canyon Oaks at first interim, the total program was $594,000. It has increased now at an estimated $638,000. So we did see a slight increase, but also a corresponding revenue. So that program does not require a contribution from the general fund. The Gateway program, We saw that the program itself increased from about 1.58 million up to 1.7, almost 3 million. Contribution then increased from the general fund of $145,000. On the far right, the change, just so you understand, that is a change from the third column, second interim, to the second column, first interim. So what we're showing here on that change column is what changed between first interim and second interim. Moving on to Hillcrest, we actually see in that program that our contribution has gone down. We're seeing more students into that program. We believe we have more average daily attendance coming to us for that program. Thus, we're able to decrease our contribution into our Hillcrest budget. But that program overall has increased in cost from 1.4 million up to 1.5. So multi-year projections, again, we think is one of the most important parts of the budget itself. Some assumptions. We do believe that we have declining enrollment across the county, so that applies to our local control funding formula because we are funded on countywide ADA. We have made some estimates of differentiated assistance with 3 districts exiting in 26-27 and 1 entering in 27-28. Those are assumptions. We have updated our position control. Our step and column, we use 1.5%. We have made adjustments to supplies and services as we met with program managers. And our STRS continues to be stable at 19.1%. And actually our PERS has gone down compared to where we were estimating at first interim. You can see those percentages are smaller. So, which is kind of nice because we have seen some large increases over our PERS over the last 5 years. And we do increase our supplies and our services with a consumer price index percentage at 2.86 and 2.81%. So here's a picture of our multi-year projection. As Minette already mentioned, our expected change in fund balance on the unrestricted side of the budget is 1.18 million. In 26-27, we expect that number to be 819, almost $820,000 positive change in fund balance. And out into the 27-28 year, we're projecting a positive change again of 1.1 million. And we show all the different reserve components, including our economic reserve requirement, board reserve, and reserves for a small district loan, which you'll see on another agenda item. And also lottery and some non-spendable items. So just a picture of those fund balances of where we're ending and across all years. We also go back to 21-22, so you can kind of see that progression. But important to note here, although that shows kind of a slight increase over time, some important costs are not included in this budget, and they are around compensation. The budget does not include compensation increases for confidential management staff, classified 158 or 887. Classification and compensation implementation has not been completed for San Mateo or for SMCEA, our teachers group. We're in negotiations for that right now. So there are costs that we do expect to realize before the end of the year. They're just not represented in this budget. So conclusion, we are using the new financial system, the ERP system. We think it's more accurate. You can see that, we believe, in some of the variances that you're seeing, and specifically the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 object codes for our salaries and benefits. We note the Rollins Road property has not been leased yet. We are getting some calls and they are doing a lot of showings, but nobody has made us an offer to lease that property. And we don't have any revenue in the budget associated with it. As mentioned, we are negotiating with 158 and 887. And we are also working with SMCEA on the classification and compensation study. We are waiting on the classification compensation study for unrepresented management. So later tonight, we'll be bringing you a 2756 disclosure for a compensation agreement with our confidential and management unrepresented groups, but it doesn't include the classification and compensation study. Minette mentioned this already, but this is the last year of costs associated with the ERP implementation. And then overall, we are a very financially healthy LEA. So with that, open to any questions.
Comments or questions from the board? Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you for this. I want to go back to your slide number 10. You don't have to bring it up if you don't want to. It's the budget to actuals comparison. So it looks to me like we have a small increase in property taxes. So it's up to about 74.5 million. But the outgo, which is what we have to give back as quote unquote excess, is just under 40 million, which is well over 50%. Has that changed? I mean, I'm always shocked by the number. But this year, it seems like it just mushroomed. We're giving back more than 50% of our total property taxes.
Yes. Yeah, we don't get to keep excess. So as we see increases in property taxes, to our benefit, a good example is that our LCFF revenue increased by $71,000, but you'll notice that our other outgo increased by $53,000. So that's the change in the funding formula for county offices implemented 2 years ago, where we actually get to keep a bit of that increase. Prior to that, had we got $70,000 of increase, we would have seen $70,000 go out. But to your point, it's increasing dramatically because our property taxes in this area are continuing to increase dramatically.
So the more we pay in property taxes that we believe is going to the school system, the more we're penalized by the state and having that raked back for costs that have nothing to do with education.
For county offices, that's true. That is not true for community funded.
It's not
school districts,
true for local.
but it is true for our organization. And I think when I first came on board here 5 years ago, it was more like 20 million that we were sending back, something like that.
I seem to remember it getting like something close to 30%, and we were outraged. This is over 50%.
Yes. And there seems to be at least some openness to have a conversation about that, but we'll see.
Yeah, it was something you can fix. I just
Yeah, no,
wanted to make sure I was reading it correctly.
yes.
All right, thank you.
Other comments or questions? Trustee Gerard?
Yes, I just want to follow up on what Susan said. So there is not a designated percent that is set for a return on those funds. It just is whatever they feel like.
No, so the way it works is we do our calculation, our local control funding formula. So just like every other school district, we do a calculation that this is the amount of money our organization should receive. In a school district, if they receive more in property taxes, they get to keep the excess. They get to keep all of what goes above that. For us, we only get to keep our calculation. So if the property taxes come in a little bit higher, then there's only a little bit of excess. But if they come in much larger, then all that excess goes back. So it really comes down to our formula, our LCFF calculation.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Lev?
So continuing on that, you mentioned that there is interest in having a conversation about this. What does that look like? We've heard that the Superintendent's Association was going to make this a priority, and some other groups were going to make it a priority. I'm just kind of curious.
You may know more than I do. I just know that prior to a couple months ago, anytime this was brought up, the answer was, fine, do whatever you want. We'll change the law to make sure it stays the way it's been. So almost like a closed door to the conversation. But what we've heard recently is possibly an opening, because I think the dollars are increasing dramatically. And there seems to be more county offices in this situation that at least a conversation of maybe an increment or keeping some of the new money for educational purposes may be open to conversation. But again, you might know more than I do.
It's priority, and we have asked for that LAO study to be done. This is one of the topics. We'll see what comes back. But I also know with the vehicle licensing fee, when we brought that up at the meeting with the Board of Supervisors, one of them said, oh yeah, we're actually thinking about that, and made some reference to it. So we were kind of curious. Nope, nothing there.
No, after they had the conversation regarding the community funded districts and using those funds and the reality of what would happen negatively, the negative impact that would have on districts. They've retracted, and hasn't been conversation around school funding, at least that I have been part of.
Okay, so then the other question that I had, and maybe this is more of a program question. There was 145,353 to 760,000 jump in Gateway. And so because of fewer students and maintaining the cost to districts. So do those kind of numbers impact how we're thinking about that program at all?
Well, I may not have written that very well. It increased by 145,000 to 700. So it
Okay.
previously was 600 and some odd thousand. So it's not that it went from 145 up to 700. It went from 600 and something up to 745. So my fault if that wasn't written clearly.
So, okay, so that doesn't really impact the equation on what we're thinking about with respect
No,
to
I mean,
Gateway.
this was the first year that we held the rate that we charged to districts stable. We told them we're going to take the prior year, only increase it by 3%, and that's what we've charged them. So the onus is on us to manage the cost structure in that program. So as we see costs increase, there's no billing more back to the districts.
Mhm.
And I think hopefully the intent was that districts were able to find that a desirable placement, and we may actually see more students, but that has not happened.
Okay, so that's more of a policy thing to think about. Okay, thanks.
Trustee O'Neill?
Hi, Kevin. Curious, the Genentech lawsuit. Now that we have to send back $530,000 as the county office of ed. Is that will be in the third interim report?
We won't do a third interim. So we will, we'll need to look at when we have to pay that timing wise, but we potentially might have to bring that back to the board as an increase to the budget.
I think they were going to withhold it on a payment they're sending us in October is what I saw in the letter.
Yeah, so in that case, what we would see is a different projection of property tax allocation to us, which we would then incorporate into next year's budget.
Is there any way, being that's from past years, do you think there's any way to get a refund for what we send back to Sacramento? Because now
I like the idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
You know, I just wondering if we could get it back. That's all. Since that's what we're paying is the current dollars, but
Yeah.
okay.
I really wish we could use those dollars for education in our county. Again, I haven't traced the dollar, but I keep hearing it's going to court system. I don't know if that's true, but there's so much more increased revenue, and there is such a need in different districts and our own programs. It would be nice if we could keep that here.
Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Are there any from the public?
None from the public.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the 2025 through 2026 second interim financial report?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve the 2025 to 2026 second interim financial report made by Trustee Gerard and a second by Trustee Love. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0, and the 2025 through 2026 second interim financial report has been approved. For item 6B, Kevin Baltima, Deputy Superintendent, Business Services Division, will provide information on resolution number 26-20, authorizing a short-term financing loan for the San Carlos School District. Deputy Superintendent Baltima.
Sure. This is a pretty quick moving agenda item. I also know we have Ralph Crame, the Chief Financial Officer from San Carlos. But this is kind of worst case scenario that we have a district, and we've used the term flipping. They are flipping from community funded to state funded LCFF. And when that happens, the county controller's office will actually reach and take all of the property taxes that they've already allocated, typically from December. The problem with that is the state doesn't turn on their revenue stream until the next certification, which would typically be June. But on top of all this, the state deferred their June allocation by one day into July. And so San Carlos has found themselves in a position that almost every district would find themselves in if you haven't gone an entire year without any revenue. And they are, I believe, passing a resolution, if they haven't already, to do interfund borrowing to utilize any cash positions in other funds. But even based on that, there is a possibility that they could be a negative cash position. Current estimates are $25 million as of June 30th. The county treasury does not allow a district to have negative cash position. And so this resolution is being brought before the board for a short-term loan for 1 day. And noting that it is a 1-day cash loan and that our office is in control of the cash transaction. So our office actually would move the cash into their funds at the treasury. And then the next day we would have control to move it back. And considering our strong reserve position and our strong cash position, administration is recommending that the board approve this resolution. It's really kind of a stopgap for the district to make sure they have cash, to make sure they can pay all their obligations.
Trustee Alvaro?
Thank you. This is, I mean, yes, I'm glad we're able to do it, but this is ridiculous. We have so many districts. I mean, I live in a district that gets flipped back and forth. And they don't, how do you make a budget? How can you possibly make a budget when you don't know what your income is going to be? It's just, it just add to the aggravation about having to send our excess to the districts where it belongs, you know? So I'm not going to make a speech, but my question was, what if the state pays late, which they do? We don't have an automatic where it comes back a day later. If it has to be a week later, if it has to be a month later, we have that mechanism.
We have the mechanism to control the transfer from our office to the county treasury. So our plan would be a 1-day transfer. I think there's a lot of pressure to get the deferral correct. So I have not experienced in my 25 years in education, of course, deferrals weren't around until 2008, but I've never seen a deferral that didn't come in from the state. So, and understanding that the actual state, their revenue stream is strong, there's not a concern that the state is running out of cash. So we fully expect that payment to be made.
Your mic.
Mike. I turned off my mic. You have the ability to not hit the button for a couple of extra days if it becomes necessary.
Yes, and we'll work closely with the district to monitor because we're going to wait for them to give us an official letter based on the best projections they have up to the last minute. Because hopefully we don't have to do all 25 million. Hopefully it's potentially less than that, or not at all. But yes, we have control of the cash transfer at the treasury.
All right, thank you.
Trustee Bonini?
I'm curious if other districts are at the same risk, because it seems that this is a common thing that happens, is flipping.
Not in our county. We have had other districts flipping back and forth, but this is the only one that we're projecting that's on the cusp, and the only one that would move from community funded to potentially state funded.
And just a really related follow-up, even if districts aren't on that cusp, how many districts, this is kind of unrelated, but districts generally are we worried about right now?
Related to flipping?
Or just related to
Financial
condition.
We do have one district that we've issued a letter of going concern. And although we have a cash issue here with San Carlos, we don't have a financial concern about their operations. There's probably 2 other districts that we are just monitoring, mainly because although it looks like they'll continue community funded, it's not dramatic over and above what state funding might be. So there's probably 3 districts that we're watching. San Carlos is the only district before the end of the fiscal year we believe has a cash flow issue.
Thank you.
Trustee Love?
Thank you. Kevin, I know in the past you have been working on a fix for this with the state. Is there any progress on that? Any interest in trying to work on this?
No, I wish there was. One, it's not very common across the state. And even those that have experienced it in other counties don't seem to experience the same cash challenge that we've seen with a few of our other districts. And I'm thinking of Napa, for instance. So there doesn't seem to be like a group that can kind of advocate for this issue. And the biggest problem I see is that related to the county controller's office pulling back the cash, that's a tax code issue and not an ed code issue. So whatever we kind of would want to, how we might go about solving this problem is more like an ed code issue. And that's really about how does the state turn on their revenue stream more quickly. So I think that's still about the only approach I can think of. And we just haven't been able to get a lot of momentum.
Well, let us know if there's anything we can do to support. And then is this San Carlos situation partially because they have increased ADA? Like there are more students, right, than they had, like, it's one district that has more students than, a lot of them are in decline.
Yeah, typically you're right. Yeah, if they're declining ADA, they stay in their community funded status. But I think San Carlos.
Okay. Thank you. Well, I appreciate that we can do this to support our districts.
Other comments or questions from the board? Trustee O'Neill?
I just want to make it clear that this is no fault of the San Carlos School District at all. The business person, the board, or the superintendent. This is state law. And we're just trying to adapt to the rules as they are. So I just wanted to get that on the record.
I appreciate that. And they should be commended for managing their cash flow and coming to us with, but early versus in June.
Thank you, Trustee O'Neill. Other comments or questions from the board? Are there any from the public?
None from the public.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 26-20? Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you. There is a motion to approve resolution number 26-20 made by Trustee Love and a second by Trustee Alvaro. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0 and resolution number 26-20 has been approved. Thank you. For item 7A, the board will move to closed session for a conference with real property negotiators, Government Code 54956.8. Before we transition to closed session, are there any comments from the public on this item?
No.
Thank you. Upon conclusion of the closed session item, the board will return to open session to report on any action taken in closed session. Thank you. We are now returning from closed session. So for item 8A, the board has returned to open session. No action was taken to report. Moving on. Business Services Division will present the public disclosure of the compensation adjustments for San Mateo County Office of Education, confidential and management employees for 2025 through 2026. Deputy Superintendent Bospa, long time no see. Hello.
Yeah, I'm tired of my own voice at this point. So our unrepresented group management and confidential, we had and I should say we, Associate Superintendent Moore had a meet and confer with the group and agreed that we are going to provide a 3.5% salary increase effective to July 1, 2025. That is consistent to our agreement with our teachers union. We are continuing to negotiate with 887 and 158. It does also increase our health and welfare contribution plans for employee plus one, moving up to $1,750, and our individual amount remains at $1,300 per month. Total cost of this compensation increase is estimated to be $786,600, and we provide this as information only. We do also note that at the end, the superintendent and the chief business official, we both had to sign that the organization can pay for the agreement, which we've done.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Trustee Love?
Just to clarify, this does not address any possible increases that come out of the class and comp study. That would all be in addition to the 3.5.
That is correct. Yes. But providing the 3.5% now moves that target number closer to what the class and comp may be. So the impact may be less than if we didn't do the compensation increase benefiting all employees.
Other comments or questions from the board? Any from the public?
None from the public.
Thank you. There is no action to take on this item. Thank you. For item 9B, we have superintendent's comments. Superintendent Chavez, do you have any comments to share?
I do. Thank you very much, President Torres. A couple of communication that this past Saturday, our SMCOE hosted our annual San Mateo County Education Employment Fair, where 23 school districts and some private schools participated in the fair. And it also included our current community schools team that were here doing recruitment, our teacher administration development department, and our P3 early learning teams also had tables and were actively recruiting. About 270 participants attended with the opportunity to be interviewed on the spot by some of the LEAs or school districts. And so special thanks to our personnel services team for organizing and hosting a very successful event under the leadership of Associate Superintendent Tammy Moore. Also, last Thursday, our San Mateo County hosted our first Mariachi and Folklorico Dance Festival, El Sonido del Orgullo, at South San Francisco High School. Allison Gamblin, our coordinator of visual performing arts, facilitated with partners from South San Francisco Unified School District, the San Mateo County Office of Arts and Culture, and Design Tech High School. So they've been working on this for several months. And so it culminated in this great event where we had several mariachi groups from Burlingame School District. I didn't know they had a mariachi, which is great. Ravenswood School District, their middle school has a mariachi. And South City High has a mariachi. So it was great to see them there. And then there's also a lot of folklorico groups, dance groups that participated from Casa Círculo Cultural in Redwood City. South San Francisco Park and Recreation Department has a folklorico group. Mills High School, Jefferson High School, Hillsdale High, and Ballet Folklorico Alma de Mexico from South City High. So it was great to see all of them sharing their art, their culture, and to see each other dance and perform was very special. They have not had that opportunity. And also something else to highlight is that the groups, both mariachi in descent, but from different cultures, and to see a Pacific Islander student singing a Juan Gabriel song in Spanish with such passion was phenomenal. So yes, so we're hoping that we can continue that and for in the future. And also, just as an update, yesterday I received an email from John Allen. He's a senior management analyst who works with the Youth Commission. And he shared that during last week's Youth Commission meeting, the executive subcommittee determined that it would be in the best interest of the Youth Commission to open up recruitment for the Youth Commission liaison to the board in April and May of this year, so that they can engage in the process, so that they can have a commissioner to start on July 1st, rather than waiting to the fall for that. And so they share that they currently have 6 eligible commissioners. They're entering senior and junior year this coming fall, and they attend public schools in San Mateo County. So our intent is to follow the similar process that we have in the past, engage the board president, I believe, in the selection process. And alongside of that is also developing and engaging our school programs for the recruitment of a board member from our school programs. So those are my updates tonight.
Thank you. For item 10A, the board will engage in a third reading and take action on updated board policy 0450, comprehensive safety plan. Superintendent Chavez, back to you.
Yes. So at the last board meeting, February 18th, there was discussion on this, a specific sentence, or actually the opening paragraph of this policy. And so the subcommittee reviewed the sentence structure and made recommendations. So there was an adjustment of a comma and mainly a comma. And so we made that adjustment. And so you now have a clean copy that reflects that adjustment. So we're bringing it forth for for you to consider approval.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Double checking. Triple checking. I'm going to move forward. Are there any comments from the public?
No comments from the public.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve updated board policy 0450, comprehensive safety plan? Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve updated board policy 0450, comprehensive safety plan, made by Trustee Love and a second by Trustee Bonini. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion passes with a vote of 7-0, and updated board policy 0450, comprehensive safety plan, has been approved. For item 10B, the board will discuss and act on the participation of board members in the 2026 Coast to Coast Federal Advocacy Trip in Washington, D.C. on April 13th through the 15th of 2026. Superintendent Chavez.
Yes, thank you. So Board Member Love requested approval to attend the 2026 Coast to Coast Federal Advocacy Trip to Washington, D.C. on the dates stated, and as required by County Board Bylaw 9240, it requires approval from the board. So we're bringing it forward for your consideration.
Comments or questions from the board? Trustee Love?
Yes, so I had asked that kind of be a placeholder. I was in the San Mateo County School Boards Association meeting. The president of our subcommittee, head of our subcommittee, couldn't go. So I wanted to make sure that we had possibly the option to have somebody go in place. I am not able to go. And so this isn't for me, but if there is another person who's involved in our advocacy work, and it makes sense to do that, then we have this opportunity for it to be open, I guess.
Thank you. So the floor is open. If anyone is able or wanting to go. Trustee Alvaro?
I'm neither able nor willing to go, but I had a comment, a question, which is, I've always been puzzled by this one. why we would send people clear across the country. And we used to have a policy that said basically nobody goes out of state unless there's, I mean, I'm not talking staff, I'm talking board members. We just don't go out of state. And we had one or two things come up. I think Bev, you went once to Washington, and there was some reason that was a special reason to go. It wasn't like every year. So I just throw out that I don't think that it merits, and I appreciate that you wanted to have it as a placeholder and help out CSBA, but I just don't see that it merits the expense of us sending somebody across the country to meet with the guys here.
Other comments or questions from the board? Trustee Benini?
I would just express that I personally, do think it's a advocacy trip that is worthwhile for a lot of reasons. I know we've had requests in the past to go to do various things out of state. So I do think we should be looking at, budgets and, whether that makes sense. But I respectfully disagree that it isn't worthwhile, because I do think that there are other opportunities to engage with other board members who are advocating kind of like legislative advocacy that we're doing this week, but it's virtual, which isn't as great as it used to be. And also just getting to meet with, maybe hear other perspectives and meet with other Congress people that are, or senators that are not ours, so there is also that opportunity, I think. So anyway, I just wanted to express that. If anybody is interested in going, I would say, I know that Trustee O'Neill had expressed a desire to go last year, and we did not approve that, but I am more than happy to approve that if someone wants to go, or to vote for it anyway.
Superintendent Chavez?
Can I add, or just to piggyback on what Trustee Benini shared, I know that the California superintendents also participate in something similar, both at the state level in Sacramento and in Washington. And I think, to Trustee Benini's comment, the fact that county superintendents from across California are coming with a common objective or common issues to bring forward to the elected officials as a unit does have power and does have the provide the opportunity to connect with other policymakers from other regions in California. So there's that opportunity, and there's that value. But I'm not familiar with the coast to coast for board members, but just from the perspective and what I've learned from the county superintendents, there is that value.
Trustee Gerard?
Yes, I have participated actually twice. And it's an experience. And I certainly am so grateful that I was able to do it. My only caveat is that any of us or county board members that go, we need to understand that we have to be the spokesperson for county boards, because everyone else is talking about districts. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, when I went the first time, and CSBA, I actually went as president of CCBE. And so I was with a very small, very exclusive group on that first visit. And we spent one whole day being trained on what we needed to do and what we needed to say. But when I looked at it, I'm like, well, this isn't how it affects county offices. So I took all the questions and called, Floyd Ganella was the superintendent at the time, called Floyd Ganella and said, here I am. Can you get me the answers to these questions on how it affects county offices of education by tomorrow morning because we're going on up to the Hill. And he and Tom Fitzpatrick did. And I had my booklet with me. And at the end of every discussion, then I had to raise my hand and say, let me tell you how this affects county boards or county offices of education and county programs. So I want you all to know that, because if we are spending the money to send someone, I want you to be the cheerleaders for county offices of education. And it's important because there were some things that were great for districts, but absolutely horrible for counties. And so the people up on the Hill need to understand there are two sides to a lot of the stories. So anyway, I just wanted to add that because it was a real eye-opener for me. And at one point I was told by someone to keep my big mouth shut, which everybody that knows me knows that isn't going to happen. So, but they didn't like me talking about counties. And I said, look, my county sent me back here. They paid for it and I'm talking about them. So there you go. So I just want you to know that you have to know that before you go.
And I'm just planting a seed because I haven't been to Coast, but I think knowing that, I think it'd be a great goal for the advocacy subcommittee to really work on that excess property tax and that be the focus that we start to bring, especially if this is going to be a big group going and kind of getting that word out and building that momentum. So just a thought that I thought of right now. But any other comments or questions from the board? Trustee O'Neill?
Just to kind of answer Susan's comments, I think one, as the County Board of Education, we should be advocates for the 94,000 kids that are in our school systems every day. Okay, so to say that this is not applicable, I do not think is a correct statement. Second, one of the biggest things that we face here is a federal issue, and that is the fact that by federal law signed by Gerald Ford, this federal government said they were going to pay 40% of the cost of special education. To date, they only fund 16%. Every year in San Mateo County, that shortfall is $58 million. And that is a federal program. That is more than the 38 million we're sending back. So I think for you to misstate that there's nothing that we can't advocate for is an incorrect statement.
Well, that's not what I said.
And I have no intention of going there this year. So just so you know, I'm not advocating for a trip.
And that isn't what I said.
Other
What I
questions?
said was that we need to advocate with the people who represent us, and they are available in Sacramento, and they are available here. Whereas going to Washington, and I remember that experience that you had, Bev, was that you were with a group of people who were advocating for local school districts. There are states that don't have county offices of ed, and you were just a voice in the wilderness. Now, whether or not you made a difference with anybody who wasn't already one of our elected representatives, who knows, right? So I'm not saying we don't need to advocate. I'm saying that there's a place to advocate that to me makes more sense. The advocacy in Sacramento, that's a big deal. Advocacy to our local elected officials who serve in Washington, that's right on the money.
But that is Mullen and Liccardo. So two people out of a body of 435 in the House of Representatives. So that means there's 433 people that need to be educated. And for special ed, that is a bipartisan Republican Democrat issue facing every school district in the country.
It's fine.
Other comments or questions from the board? Yes, Trustee Love.
I appreciate this conversation. I do think it's important to advocate, and I was prepared to go and reached out to you if it had worked. It just didn't work for me to be there. It just was a crazy week. But I was thinking if our two other advocacy subcommittee members were able to go, they would be probably, the most logical ones, if possible.
Other comments? Trustee Bonini?
Oh, I'm just interested if anybody's thinking that they might want to go.
Oh, yeah, I was going to get to that after comments.
I mean, as just a general matter, I do think it's important that that we participate. Maybe not every year, but I think it's important.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Any from the public?
None from the public.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to attend, so that way that we can determine whether or not a motion needs to be made? I am seeing none, so there's no action to take on this item. Moving on to item 10C, when an ad hoc subcommittee meets or a representative attends a meeting related to their given assignment, board members may choose to bring a report to the board at this time. Would any board members like to report out? Trustee Love?
Thank you. I have two quick reports. I hope they're quick. The board policy subcommittee met this week and we made progress reviewing a couple of gamut updates. We have quite a backlog. Some policies will be coming to the board at the next meeting, and some still require work, and really kind of opened up some cans of worms. And one of the policies that we'll be bringing back is the student board member policy. If we had looked ahead, there was a policy that addressed the issue of if a county board already has a process in place for its students, it doesn't need to go out to the whole county to get students. So, and that was the issue where a student had reached out to us. So we'll get that clarified, and that'll be great. We're meeting again on April 1st to review the policies we had questions about, address some mandatory bills that we really need to take on, and then another gamut update. Second, the board advocacy subcommittee also met and to discuss its priorities around the whole issue of school funding. We wanted to know where the vehicle licensing fee issue is. We're waiting for the LAO report that we requested. There was a lot of conversation about Genentech and how we might be able to support districts, as well as, of course, excess property taxes. We also talked about local advocacy. That's another one of our pillars. And we will be hopefully having a toolkit ready in May sometime, so that in June, everyone can kind of get out to their local city council meetings and school board meetings, and then some of the the county groups, and let people know about what the county office does, as well as advocate for public education in San Mateo County. And then we looked at legislation proposed by partner organizations, including ACCBE, as well as San Mateo County School Boards Association. And we had recommendations to move forward with some of those. And fortunately, the board president is on that subcommittee and will be sending letters in support of some of those bills that we were talking about. And we will report back on that when we get to that point. And then we also talked about the importance for the County Office of Ed to really be a leader in the AI space. They had been for a bit, and then it sort of shifted to another high school district, and we see a need for a lot of attention to be played in leadership by the county office and the board as it can do on that topic.
Thank you, Trustee Love. Any questions for that subcommittee? Would any other subcommittees like to report out? Trustee Bonini?
I'm reporting out the budget subcommittee did not meet in this interim, but we have had offline communications. So in advance of our budget study session, that's what it's called, right? We need to have some more meetings. So I'm get a reply from our subcommittee to have a kind of a regroup meeting on the information that we received from staff. And then I just wanted to acknowledge that because Kevin's here and he requested that to meet with us, but we need to meet first. So anyway, I'll resend the email and then we can coordinate. I know there's a lot going on.
Thank you. Any other report outs? Trustee O'Neill?
The only report out from the House subcommittee was covered in closed session, so.
No. Thank you. Any comments or questions from the board? Are there any from the public?
None from the public.
Thank you. There is no action to take on this item. For item 10D, board members will comment. Trustee Alvaro?
I just have one thing. Today in the Coastside News, and I can certainly send y'all a link to it, but they reran an interview from about 10 years ago with Naomi Patridge, who she's been a pillar of the community for forever. She was a high school secretary at Half Moon Bay High. She was on the city council forever. She became mayor a number of times. She worked for the Farm Bureau when she retired from the school district. She's just amazing. She also is of Japanese ancestry. Her maiden name was Inamura. And the Inamura family was among the families that was uprooted and incarcerated during World War II. They had a farm in Pescadero. They lost everything. They were sent, she said, fortunately, they had 3 kids. So fortunately, they got one of the horse stalls that had been cleaned and enlarged at Tanforan as a holding, where some of the smaller families and single people didn't. They got horse stalls that had just had horses in them recently. She talks about the experience of living in a camp. She was sent to Topaz. The family was sent to Topaz. In fact, one of the first times I ever talked to Naomi about this, there was a AAUW event that was honoring this woman I cannot remember her full name. Everybody called her Scotty. She was Mrs. Scott. It was her 100th birthday. And Naomi came and with tears in her eyes said, Mrs. Scott was my teacher at Topaz. She came as an Anglo woman. She came and volunteered to teach in the camp, to teach all these little Japanese kids that were locked up. And at the end of it, Naomi says basically she's still not bitter. She doesn't think that being bitter has ever served her parents. It never served her. They just got on with their lives. But it's a really amazing article to read. And the reason that Coastside News ran it again is what's going on right now. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. It's, it really strikes home because that was my community and Naomi is my friend. But just to read about that and, pictures of the little kids who are all sitting around waiting to be bussed off to someplace, it's pretty potent to read. So I will certainly share that with you.
Thank you. Trustee Arias?
Thank you. I do have something that I wanted to bring from last time. So I visited the South San Francisco Unified School District on February 20th, and I was given this package about, how the district is doing. And in summary, I met with Dr. Moore and Trustee Pat Murray, again, February 20. I know it's a little bit time ago, but I told them I was going to come in and share, but I forgot the package last time. So they are in their 3rd year of the Portrait of a Graduate, working for the high school students and the idea of how graduates are going to be coming out from the South San Francisco Unified School District. And they're also in their 2nd year of strategic planning, making sure that positions align with the plan and what kind of supports are missing. And their 5 priorities are exceptional instruction, engaged students, purposeful partnerships, empowered educators, and equity-centered systems. So those are the 5 priorities. And the school district has 4 preschools, 9 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, 3 high schools, and 1 comprehensive adult education program. They have a CTE classes, so they have some courses in the high school within 5 different industry sectors. And they also partner with Genentech a lot. So that's, some of you kind of comment on that. The lab that they have and a scholarship for like when the students graduate and go into STEM programs, they have scholarship for students like that. So very helpful partner. So that's my report from South San Francisco Unified School District. And then this March 7 here in the county office building, there was the transition to Independence Resource Fair. I came in and Julissa Escurinaga was doing Zumba in the patio. So it was really exciting, a little sad that there was not a lot of participation. Everybody was in the tables, but it was okay. I mean, some of us were like dancing to her Zumba. So it's just one of the examples of when we look into the interests of the student, when it's really student-centered, the difference that can make, because that's as her own business. She, that's what she does. She comes to different places and has a small fee for her when she does instruction in Zumba. And there was also the student micro businesses in the lobby from our Palos Verdes, and we received that little soap and we got a soap, and what was the other item? Oh, the bag. Yes. So yes. And so they had them in there for sale, and they also said that I think once a month they sell them in the school. So that's just for you to know, like if you want to go look for a little gift. So they had that in there too as an example. They had 3 different breakout rooms for workshop sessions, free lunch, and 40 vendors in the tablings. Vendors meaning like information for transition students to think about like what's going to happen after they turn 22, and even during the program services like Golden Gate Regional had a table, 40 tables, different tables that were showing the supports and services that they have. And then on March 10th, I was fortunate enough to be able to attend the CSBA Masters in Governance program. So the first class of 4 sessions that they have to offer for county offices of education. One of the things that really was important to me to hear is the roles and responsibilities for county office of ed trustees and superintendents, and how we together work on governance, strategic goals, vision, and advocacy. So those were the areas that, having the responsibilities from the two sides is like where we converge, and it was very important to, and a lot more information that of course I'm not gonna like go through it, but I brought my little booklet if anybody wants to like take a look. Or it was very, very eye-opening for me to be able to participate in that one full day. And the differences in ed code about shall and may, that kind of struck me, and I'm like, oh, that really makes a difference. And the idea about board self-evaluation, like we evaluating ourselves and how we're doing, was important to me to hear too during that Masters in Governance program. Then on March 11 and 12, the next day, the California Foster Youth Education Task Force presented to us, and we, the 3 of us, Trustee O'Neill and Trustee Bonini were there. Some of the things that I brought from that is the Riverside County Office of Ed and the app Foster Ferret, how it's important that it takes one supportive adult to change the life of a foster youth. One supportive adult in the life of a foster youth can make a difference in their lives. And the potential of Bright Spots report highlighting how others are doing excellent work and how that can be repeated in other counties. So again, that foster fair was one of the ideas that is happening there, and how when something is working or is making a difference, how do we replicate that? How do we join and we talk about, trying to do the same or similar work that they're doing? That was part of what I did that in March 11 and the 12th. But then on April 10 to 11, I'm going to attend the ACCBE conference in Riverside. Yes, so I'm excited about hearing again this focus on County Office of Education. And I think, like Trustee Gerard said, I think that's what makes the difference between hearing from this, what district board members do and when they're very focused on what a county Office of Ed trustee does. So that's very important. So I am excited to do that. But also on April 13, from one of the communications that I received, there's this, April 13 is the Monday, and it's also in Riverside by coincidence in the County Office of Ed. There's this family engagement conference, Elevate Parent Leadership to Strengthen Student Success. And the audience is family engagement practitioners, directors, administrators, coordinators, school support staff, educators, students, parents, and caregivers. So I'm putting it out there if anybody is interested and if this is something we can attend. I think, as you might know, family engagement for me is very, very important. I think it makes a difference in the student's life. So I want to know what's the process, I guess, because this is a county office putting it out there. It's not the ACCB, but it's the same weekend. Yes, on a Monday. So the conference is Friday, Saturday, and this is on the Monday. So I want to attend.
Oh, yeah. So just reach out to Jennifer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will
California, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
then,
It's
yeah.
in Riverside.
Just reach out to Jennifer.
It's in Riverside. It's right there. But again, I also am going to send it to Jennifer to see if anybody else in the board is willing to attend or can attend on that Monday. Or yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Bonini?
Okay. So I have a few things to report. I had the pleasure of visiting Gateway and Hillcrest and Ann Campbell Center with Trustee Gerard last Monday. Is that the 9th? It was just last Monday. It seems like it was a while ago. And I will be, again, I think no one else was able to go, but on this Friday, the 20th, I'm going to visit Canyon Oaks. And I probably will go with staff up to Hillcrest again because they're doing their showcase for CTE. So if anyone is available to go, we're probably going to be there between 11 and 12. And we saw a glimpse of it when we were there before, but they're actually doing the showcase, I think, with the parents. So that'll be really great. So anyway, just putting it out there. I attended, as Trustee Arias already said, I attended the County Board Conference March 10th through 12th. The focus was on foster youth, and we had a lot of great presenters with lived experience. A foster ferret, but mostly foster ferret was the youth again presenting. And then I think it's Trustee O'Neill who took a few of these very dense, I would say, information packets. I think we have those. And what I would like to say about that generally is that there was a lot of information presented. We didn't have a lot of knowledge as board members about what is happening in our county, but we learned about different committees that are countywide and different things that are under statute. And since the three of us were there and we started compiling some questions that we wanted to address, we thought we'd do that sort of together. But I kind of feel like it's a very important issue. And so maybe in the future, I know we don't have future agenda items now, but I do think it's possible that we might want to continue to work on that issue to sort of raise it up. And so I don't know that we want to form another subcommittee, but whatever that process would look like where we could do that officially and then, report back. It could be just a short-term one. And I haven't asked the other board members if that's what they would like to do, but we did say we would compile our questions. I also, I think I've already mentioned that I'm on the CSBA's AEC Annual Education Conference Planning Committee. So I was in Sacramento this morning working on the 6 strands that are going to go out in the call for proposals on March 30th. And then I'm also on the county program committee. And so for their county conference, which will be in September, which will be not in Monterey this year, will be in, I think it's Marina Del Rey. Is that right? It's going to be in LA, Marina Del Rey. But the call for proposals will also go out for those soon. They're in close proximity in time. And the recommendation is if we have, if anyone or we have some submission, it can go to both those processes and then potentially get accepted so that we can, I'm hoping that we can bolster proposals that go into the AEC. So we have more things for county. And we do have 3 representatives on the committee, I think right now, that are county, 1 superintendent, 2 board members. So, so anyway, so there's that. I also wanted to note, based upon superintendent's notes about the dance presentations, the call for proposals for students, and I can share the whole schedule, but for student performances goes out on May 15th and it's open till June 24th. So if we have some amazing things going on in our county, we should maybe submit some. And then last but not least, the San Mateo County School Boards Association, we're in our final couple of months for this year, right? And we need to form our nominating committee. So if anybody would be willing to serve in that capacity, anybody who's out listening or watching us on YouTube or anything, please let me know. I will be reaching out soon so that we can start planning that for the coming year. We are working on the Kent Awards. We have, I didn't count them all, but I think we have like 15 or 16 submissions, and we're going to start that process. So that's amazing. And then we have our final meeting of the year for the quarterly meetings will be on April 20th, and that will feature our own Seeds to Solutions. And hopefully we'll have a segment too with our legislators, because we did have to we did have to cancel our legislative brunch because we couldn't get enough attendees. So I think that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Lev.
Thank you. I just wanted to comment on the resolution honoring former Superintendent Nancy McGee. Thought that was a lovely job pulling together all the contributions that she had made from COVID, steering our schools safely through that, the Coalition of Safe Schools and Communities, United for Youth, and then environmental literacy, all of those award-winning programs that have done so much for youth. So a remarkable number of accomplishments, and it was nice to see that all there. I'm sorry that I will be out of town for the event honoring her next week, but I'm glad that's going to be held. Thanks to Kevin Baltima for all of his reports, presentations, impressive amount of work. Also want to share, I had a little bit of kind of whiplash on the housing discussion. I had a very different understanding of that program, as was clear, and it's $7.5 million is a bit different. I also, the comment that Deputy Superintendent Baltima said about the $7 million can be made up in a year, short period of time, just made me think, is that, like, what's the long-term plan for that kind of thing? If we have that amount of money that we know is sort of extra coming in, maybe that's for the budget committee to be kind of thinking long-term. Maybe there's more we could be doing, and maybe it's housing and maybe it's not. And then participated, as I mentioned, with ACCBE and San Mateo County School Boards Association advocacy work. And that's really useful because, for example, ACCBE brings up bills that we're not necessarily aware of. They are vetting them, thinking about them. There was one for interdistrict transfers. I'm trying to get some input from the county office on what they think about it. I know districts aren't that into it, but there are some bills that had to do with youth and foster care, as well as transitions for students leaving juvenile justice. And we came out as supporting those. So hopefully we'll be sending letters on those. And I'm looking forward to connecting with Superintendent Chavez tomorrow. I appreciate you reaching out to all the board members and trying to connect with folks. And thank you.
Thank you, Trustee O'Neill.
Yeah, I had my meeting with Marco today, and he had PTSD afterwards. He scheduled an hour, and I had 2 hours. So discussing, but I also was in San Diego with Trustee Edith and Chelsea. I did meet another board member that once we get the LAO report, she wants me to send her a copy because her county sends 14 million back. So they're kind of in the same boat as we are. So we also met another board member up there from Humboldt County. And it's very interesting. Up there, there's like 23 school districts. Each one is one school, and most of them have less than 100 kids. and it's just like totally different type of existence than we have. And they actually did close one because it just got so small. It wasn't worth it. And that when she was a former teacher, when she was teaching, she was teaching fourth, fifth, and sixth grade combined, which I thought was kind of interesting. I did meet with Marco today, and I'm looking forward to a conference call I'm going to be putting together with the Silicon Valley Foundation, and they want to discuss how they might help workforce development and economic mobility in partnership with us or other entities. So that's to be determined and set up, and we'll have a conversation. So.
Thank you. Trustee Gerard?
Thank you. I was kind of busy the last couple of weeks. I did read at Bay Shore last Friday, which was super enjoyable. I read to a third grade class, and we read Cecilia Loves Science. And it's really a cute book about a little girl who loves science and does a science project with her friend. It was fun, and I just love being able to be with the kids and be in their room and see what they're doing. And I love the questions they ask. Luckily, I could answer all these. That's not always the case. So anyway, it was really fun. I also, as Trustee Benini said, visited Gateway, Hillcrest, and Ann Campbell last Monday. And I have to say that, that when we went to Hillcrest, they were involved in a CTE class that was amazing. And the attention that those kids were paying to the teacher that was instructing and giving a video on how to make a sensor. And so after they finished, they all got kits and they all made these sensor lights. And it was amazing. They had a bulb and batteries and some wires, and they did it. And they were so proud. It was really a great experience to see them doing that. I also was trained last week in Oceana, so that I will be going along with Trustee O'Neill, and we'll be doing their evaluations of their senior projects, which should really be fun. And as usual, I was very, very busy with ACCBE. I had at least one Zoom meeting every other day for the last 2 weeks. So there's been a lot, and we've had some great training sessions and are going to have some amazing new ones. I spent 2 hours on a call yesterday with the planning committee. So I hope everybody will attend, and they are videoed. So if you're not available, you can go in and see them online.
Thank you. So I realized that I forgot to give an update for the governance subcommittee because I was so busy chairing the meeting. But before I get to that, it's in relation to that. One of our commitments from our retreats and everything is to hold each other accountable and in terms of governance and respect. So I just want to make sure that we take a quick pause to just bring forward some of the commitments and agreements that we made in our retreat together, just because I didn't see that. And just some reminders to always assume the best intentions of this group, that if there is something you don't understand, that you seek to understand. So questions, a lot of the best conversations come out of different perspectives or when we disagree, but there's a way of doing that that is held to the standard of what we want for this board. So I just wanted to be clear that we were reflecting on that moving forward. And for our governance subcommittee, We met with the team and the facilitators to work on establishing goals, which is something very action-oriented that we all wanted from the group. And I think it's clear that there's still some work that we need to do within board members individually. And so I'm hoping that work, in that reflection that you all do, you on your own decide what needs to get done. So that way, when we get to that next retreat, we are focused on the actions as a unified front. Because I always remember Dave Patterson saying, alone you have no power. As a board member, we are only effective when we are all together as a board. And that is what I will conclude with my comments. So for item 11, we have our adjournment, and our next regular meeting will take place on Wednesday, April 8th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Thank you.